Hello and welcome to version 2 of Sutton and Back Family Style, episode 126. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill. We had a rough night last night, right, Jay?
We did. We tried to record for everybody and it just did not work.
So we're gonna try and recreate what we did last night and add a few things for today.
Definitely.
Start off with a business moment.
Okay.
I'm very intrigued that the Atlantic League, an independent baseball league, is MLB's blessing on what they're calling robot umpires, automated umpiring.
Yeah.
So laser balls and strikes. And after having watched Wimbledon yesterday and saw how beautifully that system works, showing where the ball hits, and it shows if it gets a piece of the line or not. I mean, it's very accurate. Nobody complains. It doesn't take very long. I am all in on this.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd always rather have the correct call. And if it means having a robot making the correct call, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I don't need somebody bending down over behind a catcher trying to figure out if it's a ball or strike. And then when you show me whether it was a ball or strike with a little diagram that goes in the screen, they probably missed 20 to 25% of the calls.
It's true.
And so I would rather have I'd always sacrifice accuracy. I don't need the human error is not that attractive to me. It's not exciting to me. I don't need human error. If I'm playing the game, I want accuracy.
No, it makes sense. If the players come out and talked about it at all, or
well, the players in the Atlantic League, the pitcher said that it wasn't even noticeable to him because the call is relayed to the umpire, and the umpire makes a ball or a strike.
Oh, okay.
So the umpire still calls home plate, safe or out, fair or foul, and then he just relays the call of the laser. If I was an umpire, that makes your job to me a lot easier.
Very true. And nobody's losing a job over robot umpires yet, so
no, and it makes you less susceptible to a lot of criticism.
No,
and then I would be in favor of total automation. If you had a chip, we talked about once before, a chip in the shoe, a chip in the ball, and a chip in the base. And when your foot hits the base before the ball gets there, the base turns green. If it turns red, you're out. And that technology all exists. They could do that. And in a similar vein with Major League Baseball is also, teams are starting to investigate the idea of sponsor patches on the uniform, like the NBA.
Of course.
And again, I have no idea what's taking so long, but you got a collective bargaining contract coming up, and it's always about the money. So this would be a new revenue stream. So I don't see why not, unless it's just stupid. Unless it's like Joe's Strip Club or something, But if it's a computer company or whatever it is, I think it's fine.
True. Well, as long as we're talking about good innovation in sports, what do you think about the NFL's bizarre proposed 18-game season, but players can only each play 16 games?
Yeah, they're starting to back off of that. Now they're going to go to 17 games, with one game being on a neutral site, and everybody gets to play. And again, Jace, who's going to settle it, right? It's another game check.
It's another game check. I know one more game, or even quote unquote 2 more games if they did the ridiculous plan. But
I think they go with deleting 2 exhibition games and adding the one neutral game somewhere down the road. Not next year, obviously, but down the road.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about diluting the exhibition games is I don't like to watch them.
Right.
But I do think it's important for these guys to have a chance to make a team.
Oh, yeah.
And they need to do that in a game situation.
Without a doubt.
You're not going to make a team wearing shorts and run around on a practice field. You got to be seen in game speed, game conditions.
And, this is just speaking from me from a sports fan perspective. The NFL has to also be careful, though, because, the goose that laid the golden egg, that kind of thing. Like, don't kill the golden goose. Like, 16 games is exciting, and I don't want to miss a single Steeler game. Where if it's NBA, if it's baseball, if it's hockey, like, I don't mind missing a few games here and there. I'm not desperate to see them.
And, the NBA's already talked about looking at the number of games in their schedule.
Yeah, but going the other way.
Going the other way, yep.
I think there's way. I know the NBA. I mean, NFL owners and owners in general. Like the reason they have money is because they can't stop thinking about money. But if you raise the price of a hot dog, 4 cents, and ticket price is a tiny bit. I mean, you could make up for that revenue pretty quickly. I would think.
It's
Not only
fun.
are they going to do that and get the other revenue and make even more money, but
And like I've said a million times, people are willing to pay more if it means more.
yeah. But again, like I even feel like I mean, I used to spend every Sunday watching football, but when they added the Monday night game and all these other games, the Thursday night game, like it did dilute the product a little bit for me, where I didn't feel like I become much more of a Steeler fan slash NFL person, where I watch the Steeler game, and then through social media and the internet, I sort of pay attention to the other games. But
Well, the first Steeler exhibition game is on the NFL Network.
it's very exciting. We're
In
getting
fact,
very close.
when it's two, I think two Steeler games are on the NFL Network for exhibition season.
And in a way that's upset all the players in the NFL except for four. Madden has turned out their annual rankings,
Okay,
and only four players got a 99 ranking.
and who are those for?
Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack.
So,
I mean, those two guys are pretty,
I'm sorry, who's your second guy?
Khalil Mack.
Okay,
That dude is a wrecking ball.
yep.
Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks, middle linebacker. And only one offensive player greater than 99. Do you want to guess?
I would have said Le'Veon Bell, but since he missed the whole year, I don't think it's Le'Veon Bell,
No, it's a wide receiver.
and it's not Antonio Brown.
It's not AB, no.
So it would be Julio Jones.
It's DeAndre Hopkins of the Texans.
Whoa.
Yeah, a lot of people there. The general consensus has been like, yeah, he's great, but he's not even the best receiver in the NFL, and you gave him a 99. So
I didn't see that one coming.
no, and he's an excellent receiver, but I don't know.
If
But
you
the
didn't tell
nice
me
thing about Madden is you
player,
can go in and adjust your rosters anyway, so you're not stuck.
my three guesses would have been Julio Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, or Saquon Barkley. That would have been my three guesses, or Tom Brady.
Yeah, I figured Barkley, Brady, and maybe Mahomes, who ended up with a 97.
Yep.
Because he's going to be an exciting video game football player that everybody's going to want to be their quarterback. So
Oh yeah, no question.
right,
So for my own selfish self interest, who is the highest rated Steeler?
the Steelers only have one player in the 90s, and it is an offensive player, and it's not a quarterback.
It's Juju.
It's David DeCastro
Whoa.
at a 93.
Why do they even rate the linemen? Because they don't even in the Madden game, are they?
Oh yeah,
Really
everybody.
did.
I mean, you want to have a good offensive line for blocking and pass protection, all this. They rate. I mean,
Okay.
the intricacy that they break down every player's stats is pretty crazy. Like run blocking, pass blocking, overall blocking, awareness, pull blocking. They just go down the list.
Yeah, and the agents and the players use these things in their negotiations.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But yeah, only one Steeler, and it's David DeCastro.
I'd have never guessed that.
Mm-mm.
All right, I want to go back to yesterday and talk about Wimbledon.
Okay.
And I think Jimmy Connors probably said it the best. He said that he was honored and it was a privilege to watch that match.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, I watched probably an hour and a half of it. I mean, I only watched from the fifth set on. Maybe I watched 2 hours. It was incredible, an incredible physical feat, incredible stamina, and neither guy willing to give up or concede. It was a battle. It was a legitimate battle, and it was probably one of the most competitive tennis matches of all time. And it will stand the test of time. It was that big. And I don't follow tennis, and I don't particularly follow those two, but I was totally impressed by the athleticism and the drive and the stamina and the power. I mean, if you're talking about endurance games, this was an endurance game. 4 hours and 57 minutes.
Wow.
Not a lot of things you do for 4 hours and 57 minutes.
No, not at
So
all.
I was very impressed with that. And then the last night we were talking NBA. and we were talking about our being mystified by the Westbrook trade to Houston
Yes.
and Chris Paul being in Oklahoma City. So why don't you take that one and I'll jump in.
Well, obviously Harden and Westbrook know each other very well, and apparently Harden requested that they go get Westbrook. And it seems like Westbrook wanted that same situation. And Sam Presti, he obviously got Chris Paul and 2 first-round picks, so it's not in 2 pick swaps. Like, got nothing for him, but it seemed like he went out and did the right thing by Westbrook, if there's such a thing as the right thing,
And I agree with that. I think he did do the right thing for Westbrook.
He put him in a situation where he's on a title contender, and he's in a situation he wanted to go to, which is really great for a guy that did a lot for that franchise.
And understood. And Presti has to take a little bit of responsibility of putting Russ in a situation where he had to move.
Yeah.
Where Russ actually had a request to move because he wanted to go. And I think 11 years he gave to that franchise. He'll be the greatest player in that franchise history. I will love to watch that game. I'd like to actually be there the first time Houston comes back to Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah. Now, everybody on the internet has obviously talked about the fit in D'Antoni's system and 2 ball dominant players, and we can burn that to death. But I read something today, and we can take this article with a grain of salt because it was anonymous GMs, but it was supposedly a number of small market GMs that were interviewed. And they were saying, yeah, it's great that Sam got, 8 first-round picks, but that, the Supermax is not working in order keeping players in a small market. And, if small market teams, like, what are you going to do in the future to keep your guys? Are there any?
And that's why they came up with the bird rule to give them the 5th year and everything else. So that's not really what it's all about. I mean, because the agents and the players have figured out how to negate the bird rule.
Yeah, because they don't care about the bird rule. They don't care about the 5th extra year.
Because they only signed for a year or 2 years with the understanding that they're going to sign for the extension there and get the bird rule with their new team.
Right. And they were like, it's great that Oklahoma City got all these players and picks for, Russ and obviously Paul George, and, New Orleans got what they got for AD. But GMs are like, when this becomes the norm as it appears to become, and the price gets lower and lower, you're not only losing stars, but you're also going to lose that hope of, okay, well, I'm Sam Presti. I have 11 draft picks in the next 5 drafts. So I've got 11 shots at a superstar. Whereas, if you're getting much less going forward, like, what can the NBA? Because you feel like you did everything you could. You had Supermax, the bird right, and it's not. Those things aren't working.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to think that Sam Presti's got to hope that one of the greatest players coming out of the draft is either from Oklahoma or Oklahoma State and wants to stay home.
Yeah. And then hoping that he didn't play AAU with some guy that's in LA or has dreams of playing in New York or somewhere else on top of that. So,
right. Yeah, it's a totally different world. I mean, there's all kinds of things happening now that we never had to think about before. They were all non-factors.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, I was thinking, we talked a little bit last night about, it's going to be hard to figure out who the 8 teams, this would be the perfect year to announce seeding and seed through the whole NBA, not East and West.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because there's going to be a lot better teams in the West. There's going to be at least 10 or 11 teams that could be viewed as contenders in the West that would be better than most of the teams in the East.
Because I don't think there's a single team in the East that doesn't have big question marks. Toronto obviously lost Kawhi Leonard, so I think you can say that they're no longer that team unless Pascal Siakam becomes the greatest player on the planet. Milwaukee, they kept Middleton, but they lost Brogdon, and I don't know how good they are. And then Philly obviously added some nice pieces in Horford and everything.
I'd argue that Philly got better, with the exception of losing Redick.
Yeah, but you still have Ben Simmons, who got his extension that can't shoot. Joel Embiid, who's not always healthy, let alone in shape. And then Boston, clearly, even though I think Kemba is a positive instead of Kyrie, you lost Horford and you lost all your interior guys. So,
yeah, I think losing Horford will hurt Boston. I think losing Redick will hurt Philadelphia. Obviously, losing Brogdon will hurt Milwaukee. So probably the most improved team without losing anything is Brooklyn.
It's Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's going to be without Kevin Durant, I assume, for the year.
I
mean, I know there's been talk about him and Clay both potentially returning during the course of the season, but I think you invested a lot in those players. I don't think there's any.
Why would you bring him back? You do like Gordon Hayward. You might bring him back and let him play 5 or 10 minutes just to test it out toward the end of the
But
year.
especially Kevin Durant after last year coming back to.
That's all you're going to. You're not going to take any chances.
No.
Not with the money you've got committed to these guys. You can't take a chance.
Never, no. But yeah, But again, the NBA is becoming something to talk about year round.
It is. It is. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be. I think this is going to be one of the most fun seasons ever, especially if you're in one of those 10 or 12 markets.
Exactly. And today I already saw articles about who's the next guy this season to be traded. And of course, it was Bradley Beal, Kevin Love, all the Toronto guys, all the San Antonio guys, depending on what happens. And then there was 3 articles saying, will Giannis stay? So.
And you know what the funny thing is? I think he will.
I think a lot's going to depend on this season and the moves they made. Did they make the right call, by keeping Middleton and let Brogdon, all those sorts of things?
Yeah, I will be one that will be surprised if Giannis ever leaves.
Okay. At least in prime when he's down here doing all this stuff, yeah.
I just think he's the kind of guy that he likes being embraced there. It probably fits where he grew up and everything else. He's likes it there. He's treated well. He's adored. I mean, so we'll see how it goes. You know how quick fans can turn.
Fans can turn, and then I think if the situation basketball-wise looked like it had a better future on both ends, obviously, I think a guy like Russ would have stayed. But I think basketball, they gave it a shot with Paul George, and then you're stuck with. I mean, for all the hope they have, they're still stuck with Steven Adams, Dennis Schroeder, and at least one other bad contract, and Chris Paul at this point on that roster. So,
Yeah, and I don't think if they get rid of Chris Paul, they're going to have to take some garbage back in return.
Yeah, I don't think that's a true. I think you got enough assets. I think if you went to Miami, you're hoping to get Justice Winslow and then take a contract or 2 to save some money long term. But yeah,
well, like we said yesterday, I don't want Chris Paul hanging out there, preventing the guy we got from the Clippers to not play, or to not be able to take the role he needs to take.
Yeah,
and that's a real danger to me.
No, without a doubt.
Well, let's go back and talk about home run derby, because last week we did the show before it was over. And so Tatis Jr. hit 30 more home runs than Pete Alonso, and he doesn't win. So, I mean, I think that I thought it was exciting this year, more exciting than it's been. I just think you got to figure it out. And we talked yesterday about not having the matchups, the one-on-ones, because they're really not one-on-ones. I mean, they are, but that's really not what you want to do. Yeah. You want to have 8 guys and have the 4 best guys advance, then have the 2 best guys advance, regardless of who they were in the bracket.
As you pointed out on the show that people won't get to hear, like Alonso wouldn't have won. He wouldn't have made it out of the first round.
No, he wouldn't
have made it out
of the first round.
5th or 6th. So, I mean, and you got to reward a guy for Vlad that's putting on that show, putting up 30 more home runs than everybody else. For him not to win just seems silly.
Yeah. And I mean, he wore himself out hitting those home runs.
Yeah.
But it was really a good show. It was a really exciting show.
Without a doubt. It
kind of dwarfed the game itself. And the All-Star game is the only legitimate All-Star game.
It is. And I feel like the home run derby is still great. Whereas, the slam dunk contest we talk about every year is just kind of it's atrocious.
Yeah, it's atrocious.
Almost unwatchable. Whereas the home run derby is still really fun. Even if the balls maybe laces are smaller or something.
I just think the NBA has to go the route, and the NBA and the NFL both need to go the route of the NHL, and just have skill contests that are fun for people to watch and engaging.
Although the Pro Bowl still gets that ridiculous TV rating every year, so somebody is watching it.
And I have no idea who, because it's like I don't even know what to compare it to. It's like watching people play flag football or touch football on a parking lot. Nobody gets tackled. The bees get grabbed and they hug each other and then they walk back. It sucks.
It's absolutely awful, but And again, did you see Odell Beckham on social media with Joe Hayden throwing the football? It looked like the entire length of a field.
No.
And he automatically was like, I want to see Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes. We'll see who can throw it the furthest. Like, I would watch that. Who can throw it the furthest?
I would
When they had the
I would
fastest man thing where they just raced. I loved it. I watched that. That's cool.
I'd want to see the distance passer. I would want to see the fastest passer. I would want to see the most accurate passer. I'd want to see all those things. Those would be all very intriguing to me.
I definitely think so.
Let's see. Did we leave out anything that we were going
I
to cover
think
this week?
it was a fairly slow week or sports wise. I mean, all things considered.
Now, this week I'm excited about watching the Open because the Open's in Ireland. And I always like that tournament anyhow because the weather and the wind and everything. That tournament can change in a heartbeat. So that's one of my favorite ones to watch. So I'm excited about watching that. I'm actually going to go to 5 Pirate games next week. I'm going to see 3 games against the Phillies and 2 games against the Cardinals. But I'm also going to see the celebration of the Pirates. The 1979 team will be there Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. I watched the next to last episode of Big Little Lies last night of City on Hill. I am absolutely.
What was that?
You hear that?
Oh,
that
I was like, I heard that. So
I am absolutely all over City on a Hill. I am really, really enjoying it. The acting is amazing. The casting was great. It's just in Boston in the 80s and 90s.
Well, I have an odd food moment. I had really good frozen pizza. At a grocery store in New Orleans, I found we had a hurricane coming, so we had to, make sure our cupboards were stacked with food to eat. And we got Outlaw Detroit style pizza. Now, granted, it was a little more expensive. It was like an $8 frozen pizza, but it comes in like the little tin. And I've never had a buttier, or like it was a really buttery, crispy crust, and it was crispy frozen pizza. Now you bake it for 25 minutes in the oven. So but it had like real ingredients. You had the little burnt cheese along the edges. It was really good.
Yeah,
it was better than a lot.
It was a square pan.
The rectangle pan, yeah.
Yeah. Did you take the pizza out first and wipe out the thing and then put it back in?
No.
Sometimes they have you do that because it gets the moisture out.
Ah, that makes sense.
Because there's usually always a little bit of ice or something frozen that gets under that pizza, and it's sitting there.
I think the Detroit style is tough because you got the cheese all the way around the edge, so it burns along the back crust. So if you popped it out, you might lose some of that.
Yeah, we talked last week. I had Jets pizza, which I'd never had, and that's a Detroit pizza. And I thought it was really good.
I was shocked. It was just like one of those like spur of the moment because you had talked about Jets last week, and I was like, "Ooh, Detroit style pizza." I'm like, maybe this is going to be good.
Yeah. No, it was amazing. I'm starting to read a series by Ace Atkins, a book series. Got 9 episodes of this ex-Army Ranger that moves back to his hometown of Mississippi and becomes the sheriff. And I read, out on Amazon, you can always ask for a sample. So I asked for a sample and read, and I got hooked. So I'm starting I'll start the first one this week, and I'll let our listeners know if it's a good series. I got a good customer service story. So I had an Apple III watch, and the face popped off of my Apple III watch. I brought it back to the Apple store, and they said they would look at it, but they think probably caused it is that the battery in that model had a tendency to swell, and when it swells, it pops the face. So they would take it, and if it was before they would fix it, they would let me know how much it would cost, or if it was their fault, if it was deemed their fault, they'd replace it. And so I took it in on Thursday. I got an email Friday afternoon saying they were going to replace it. I got an email today, and I picked it up. Now, what I was impressed with, when I first said they were going to replace it, I said, would you give me a credit against the 4 series, the most current watch, and I'll just add the extra money and upgrade? And they said, no, that's not what they do. They would replace it with a 3 series, but they
Oh,
actually
nice.
replaced it with a 4 series. Yeah. So that was a real. I wasn't expecting it, and that was just a real nice
It was really nice. Yeah,
gesture, I thought.
that's the kind of thing they used to do as
Yeah,
Apple that made them become Apple. So that's the kind of thing they should be doing anyway.
yeah. But it'll keep me locked in. It's just one of those things. Just make a good feel good thing, and a good experience at the Genius Bar
Okay,
and all that stuff. So it's
cool.
good.
Well, we're going to start doing our NFL previews coming up as we are getting towards the season. Plan some other stuff out. And we're still working on the guest thing, trying to figure out technical wise why it's not working. But please rate us on iTunes anyway, and be kind despite our recent struggles.
Yes, we appreciate you sticking with us through the technological trials and tribulations.
All right. So until next week.
Peace out.